Today I'm joined by brother Michael from Iowa in the United States. A revert of 5 years, Michael is passionate about Islam and assumes multiple roles within his local community, including contributing towards a new mosque in his current locality and giving Friday weekly sermons. Welcome, Michael. How are you?
I'm good. All praise to Allah. How are you?
I'm good, thank you very much. Alhamdulillah. So how have you found Islam? How have things? What was the events surrounding the conversion?
Um, Islam's been good. It's a means to an end, right? Working towards one's own state of peacefulness or tranquility via the willing submission to God. So, with that respect, it is what it is. Um, as far as being difficult to adapt to, I mean, initially, yeah, with the type of lifestyle that I was living beforehand, yeah, there was a little bit of difficulty in adapting, but it's just a matter of sticking to it and understanding the importance of sticking to it, not being swayed off the course.
Is that something that you find within where you live, or is it difficult to stay steadfast?
Um, yeah, I mean, sometimes with like I said, with how I was living beforehand, the type of lifestyle, like being an alcoholic and stuff like that, it was pretty difficult to adapt. I didn't know everything about Islam before I took my shahada. I didn't,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't. Once I recognized the truth for what it was, I saw the importance of that, and I took shahada. So I didn't even understand that alcohol was completely forbidden or haram when I became a Muslim. So yeah, there was a little bit of initial difficulty to adapt.
But like you say, you saw the greater good in that. So
I saw
what
the
was if you could just describe or explain the positive effects you felt Islam had on your life?
just more of a connection with Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. More of you know um, just a completely different mind state. Like I'm not depressed like I used to be. I don't have as much anxiety. I've
Mm.
kind of given everything over to God, and I've seen the benefits.
If we can go back, rewind a little bit, you grew up in America. I'm guessing you didn't have much exposure to Islam, or I don't know, you can tell me if there were Muslims
Actually,
surrounding you.
actually, in elementary, well, where I'm from, there's a lot of Bosnians,
Hmm.
and Bosnians are predominantly Muslims. So I had that, and then in elementary school, there was a Palestinian kid that I was friends with, but still, I didn't like know really anything about Islam. Uh, but yeah, I had a little bit of exposure growing up.
So, how did you come to start to look at it more purposefully, or more specifically related to I'm searching for the truth, or did it come to you from the left field?
It kind of came out of left field. I strayed from my religion, my original religion, for a long time. I was like an atheist for the most part, or more
Hmm.
so an agnostic. Um, but I had I knew a little bit about Islam. Like I knew it was a part of the Abrahamic tradition. It was a religion of revelation. There's a book. I knew simple basics just from
Mm.
my education when I was younger, and so a lot of things started to happen in my life, and I felt like a need to look for God again. And um, so I started to go to mass again. I would sit in mass and Um, I'd say like the Creed, Nicene Creed, or the Apostles' Creed, or whatever, and I, I could tell like I was just paying lip service. I was like, I wanted to be good, like be close to God or whatever, and so much was like bad at the time. Um, so I kind of felt lost and dejected from that because I was like, I'm trying to do the right thing, but I just can't put my heart into it. And then something in me was just like, well, why don't you look into Islam? And then I read a little bit more about Islam. I saw that the meaning of Islam is like submission, to God, like the attainment of peace via the submission to God. And I was like, that's exactly what I need, that right there. I was like, I want to submit to God. And so I started to look into it just a little bit more. I looked into messengership of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and I was like, it's entirely possible that this man could have been a prophet. And so let's dive a little bit deeper into what he's saying. And I saw the concept of tawheed, the strict adherence to monotheism. So there's no uh, concept of the Trinity to try to wrap your head around, which my former religion, they don't even try to explain it. Really, they just say it's a mystery. So, so it made a lot more sense to me. So I was like, okay, so this is the same God. I'm not, and it's a God. It's a religion of revelation. We're not just looking at the sun, the moon, and the stars and forming our own postulations. So gradually, actually kind of quickly, things started to turn in my heart, and I was like, well, I guess I'm Muslim if I actually believe this, so I might as well take my shahada. So I reached out to somebody that I used to work with that was a Muslim, who I actually used to give a hard time because she was Muslim. Astaghfirullah. But I was like, what do I do? Where do I go? And she gave me the address to the Islamic Center and the contact details for the imam. I got a hold of him, and he's like, why don't you come in on Friday? It was like early in the week, like a Monday or something, when I got a hold of him.
Yeah.
He's like, why don't you come in on Friday during Jummah Salat, and you can say your shahada. I was like, that's too far away. And so I came in on a weekday, I think it was, after, I want to say after Asr Salah, before Maghrib, and I said my shahada.
So it was around sunset time.
Yeah, it was around that May 22nd of 2016. So not quite 5 years.
I can tell that it's really important to you. How were you feeling in that moment or leading up to it? I mean, as you entered the mosque?
I mean, I have a lot of anxiety, or rather, I had a lot of anxiety, more so back then. So I felt like people were like checking me out and watching me and seeing what I'm doing. So I walk in and people are like praying their sunnah, and they're all like over the masjid. I was like, this doesn't, like, because I was like, I knew that Muslims prayed in lines, like in the saf. So I was like, why are people just like spotty everywhere? Like, am I in the right place? It's like, is this a real mosque? Why are people not praying in lines? Like, I didn't get it. And so then somebody came and made the adhan, and everybody lined up, and I didn't know what to do. So I got online with everybody. I actually prayed my first salah in Jama before I my shahada. Yeah, I had no idea what was going on.
Yeah.
I had a beard at the time, so I guess people like thought I like belonged there. Plus, like I said, in my community where I'm from, there's a lot of Bosnians. So seeing a Caucasian with a beard joining the Jama, not entirely outside of the realm of possibilities. So nobody raised an eyebrow.
Okay, but for you internally, knowing that you're not actually Bosnian or anything, not having taken your shahada yet, it felt like I don't know. Did you feel a bit like a sore thumb? Because it's a lot. It's something converts experience a lot. I think they're projecting a lot of feelings and thinking onto the experience of entering a mosque. It can feel quite I guess scary.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like I said, I had my anxiety going, like
Mm.
people are watching me and stuff, but really nobody was watching me.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, I did feel like I didn't know what I was doing because I didn't know how to pray. So
Yeah,
people are going in ruku, so I'm
that
looking
was
in
quite
left and
bold.
right. I'm like, yeah, so
Okay,
I'm like,
let's do
okay,
this.
I guess I do like this. I'm looking at the guy next to me trying to do what he does, and then I'm like, oh, we're standing back up again. I didn't know what was going on, but then when we made sujood, I was like, yeah, this is what I'm here for. Like, I know about this one. I really like this one.
Oh wow! And I guess I'm getting the sense of real excitement um, as you're coming into the religion. I think you were just looking forward to it. I think you
Yeah,
felt, yeah.
I could tell that I was taking probably like the first positive step towards like my own reformation in my adult life, like the first real step towards something real that I actually believed in and that I thought could be for my own betterment.
Mm. And leading on from that experience, did you find that things went smoothly in the beginning months as a Muslim, or did you feel like perhaps you were receiving tests from Allah?
Yeah, yeah, I did. Boy, did I get tested. Yeah, I, you know, the, the devil's like a burglar. He doesn't try to break into an empty house. He tries to break into a house that's full of treasure, and that's the heart with man. So
Yeah,
yeah, there were a lot of tests.
you felt
Um,
well equipped though as a new Muslim. Now that you have Islam to guide you, did you feel like it gave you the tools and resources you needed emotionally and spiritually to deal with these tests?
it gave me the foundation. Like I
Mm.
was, yeah, like the foundation, the bedrock to build upon. So like I said, I still didn't know anything. Like a month and a half after I had taken my shahada, I lost my son uh, in a custody dispute,
Yeah.
and so that was very rough.
Did you feel like in the months of those tests that you were able to draw upon what Islam says in response to trying or difficult times?
It was a source of comfort.
What about going forward a bit? How do you feel that your first Ramadan went? Not necessarily the first one since you converted, but the first Ramadan that you fasted.
What do you mean, not the first one since I converted, but the first one
No,
I
no, not
fasted?
necessarily. I mean, did you fast the first Ramadan?
Yeah, yeah.
Not everybody does.
And it was like 2 weeks after, like I said, I didn't know everything. I didn't know a lot before I
Exactly.
before I jumped in and said La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. It was like 2 weeks later and it was Ramadan. They're like,
Yeah.
yeah, now you get to fast. I was like, what do you mean fast? Fast for a
Oh,
month? Like,
oh,
how do you not die? And they're like, no, it's only when the sun's up. Like, you'll be okay. And yeah, I mean, fasting during the middle of summer for like 18 hours straight or however long it is, it was difficult, but it it felt like I was actually doing something worthwhile. Like an actual, I don't know, like an actual act of worship. Like there's a little bit of difficulty in it. Yeah,
yeah,
it's a little bit difficult, but you're doing it for a purpose. It's purpose in the suffering
yeah,
instead of just meaningless suffering.
yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Do you feel like at that time you were well supported by your local community?
By the local Muslim community, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Everybody was very nice to me.
Outside of
Uh,
the Muslim community, did you face backlash
uh,
or
Not
negativity?
really. Mostly from like my family, but I wasn't really close to my family at the time anyway, and like I wasn't dependent on them for anything, so I just fell out of contact with most of them. Um, most of my friends were cool with it, surprisingly, considering my background.
Would you say that, well, what are the turning points or any verses of the Quran that you can say really struck a chord with you?
Yeah, Surah Duha. Um, I had a I had a like a very intense spiritual experience involving Surah Duha. Right. Um, I just I just come to like a turning point. It was like on a specific day where something happened, and I had like just overcome something. And I was in the neighborhood of the masjid, and it was around the time of dhuhr. And so I went to the masjid to pray dhuhr because I had a key, and there's nobody there, so I just prayed my dhuhr, and then I prayed my sunnah, and then I went and grabbed a translation of the Quran off the bookshelf and just cracked it open, just kind of absentmindedly, and it opened to Surah Duha, and I wasn't fully intimated with the Quran at this point, so it's not like I had read it cover to cover. So Surah Duha at this moment was fresh, it was brand new to me,
Wow,
and
yeah.
I was reading through it, and yeah, it really struck a chord with me because I felt like I don't know, I felt like I was struggling, like I was drowning under the weight of the world at that time, and then uh, yeah, everything Surah Duha said right then at that moment was precisely what I needed to hear. How your Lord has not abandoned you nor forsaken you, and verily the next life will be better for you than the present. Like everything that I read on that page just caused me to break down in that moment. Like, and I'd never before had like religious experiences or spiritual experiences of that magnitude. So that was something very real for me on that day. And so like I knew Surah Ikhlas and like uh, Surah Nas and like the very short surahs at that time, like the three ayat surahs, um, Surah Kawthar. But I determined at that point, like I need to commit this to memory, and I did pretty quickly, uh, just so I could keep it close to me.
Did you further down the line into the journey when you started to become well acquainted with Islam? Did you start to find, or how did you react to perhaps any contradictions within interpretations of the Quran, or how did you navigate that?
Not sure what you're talking about.
Like when you became more well acquainted with Islam, did you find any contradictions? Not within the religion itself, but maybe between scholars. So interpretations, what did you choose? How did you choose to react? Or
Uh,
did you find even like more simply, did you find it, did you find, I don't know, did you have a reaction to people behaving one way and then reading something else? Or how did you
no,
make up for
no.
those?
I was lucky enough when I entered into Islam. I entered into Islam at a masjid where we had a real scholar,
Oh, wow.
who was a Hafiz al Quran, who had like a master's, or perhaps I think he has a doctorate, but from Al Azhar. So I had a real scholar. So if I had questions, I could just ask him, "Hey, Sheikh Yunus, what do we do with this, 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 this?" Um, And then come to find out later on down the line that um, there's differences of opinions between the scholars on fiqh issues, but I don't know. I guess I don't entirely understand the question. I haven't really found any like contradictions within Islam.
And that's the answer. What's something strange or unusual that you like about Islam?
Strange. I like uh I like the aspect of cleanliness, like
Yeah.
the adhere, the emphasis on cleanliness, making wudu before you pray, um, you know, all this sweeping off your bed covers before you lay down to sleep, stuff like that. It's kind of neat. Um, I don't know. I mean, I love it all.
So, what Islamic resources would you say has influenced you the most, or favorite teachers, Islamic teachers?
Um, I like reading. I like reading stuff by Imam al Ghazali. Um, he's got a very interesting way of putting stuff, like his alchemy on happiness. Um, Imam Malik. Um, any of the classical scholars. The best resource, of course, is the Quran, Kitab Allah.
And if you could leave the listeners with one message, or if you could have a gigantic billboard with one thing on it to get out to millions or billions of people, what Islamic message would you say and why?
I would just tell people to just submit themselves fully and consciously to God and watch the blessings pour in. Submit yourself fully to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and accept peace within your heart.
Well, it's been great to speak to you today, Brother Michael, and we wish you all the best.
Alrighty.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.